Pilipinas.
Duterte had strong words for China for its recent illegal acts in the West Philippine Sea. He called out the nation before leaders of other Southeast Asian neighbors. The government again rolls out COVID-19 booster shots, this time for senior citizens and immunocompromised individuals. And another milestone for world-famous Korean group BTS. The group is the first Asian act to win Artist of the Year at the American Music Awards. Days after the Chinese Coast Guard blocked and fired water cannons at Philippine boats in the West Philippine Sea, President Duterte has called out Beijing over the incident in a special summit with the Asian superpower and other neighbors in the region. Mr. Duterte, who rarely rebukes China, says the rule of law is the only way out of the dispute. China, which claims almost the entire South China Sea, meanwhile says it will not bully smaller countries and will always be a good friend and partner of ASEAN member states. As our Tristan Odaldo tells us, the Philippine government has the support of other nations.
President Rodrigo Duterte slams the Ayungin Shoal incident where 3 Chinese Coast Guard vessels blocked and fired water cannons at Philippine supply boats on November 16th. In a summit between Beijing and the Association of Southeast Asian Nations or ASEAN, the president expresses concerns on the incident and calls on parties to exercise restraint. Mr. Duterte adds that the issues on the South China Sea cannot be solved by force.
We abhor the recent event in the Ayungin Shoal and view with grave concern other similar development. This does not speak well of the relations between our nations and partnership.
The president also urges China to stay committed in finalizing the code of conduct in the South China Sea. In the same special summit, Chinese President Xi Jinping said, quote, joint efforts are needed to safeguard stability in the South China Sea and make it a sea of peace, friendship, and cooperation. But China previously accused the Philippines of trespassing. Meantime, Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana says that the supply boats resumed their mission and are expected to arrive in Ayungin Shoal tomorrow. Lorenzana adds that Chinese Ambassador Wang Zhilian assures that they will no longer interfere with the mission. In an interview with CNN, Philippines Western Command Chief Vice Admiral Ramil Enriquez says that it took some time to repair the boats following the encounter with the Chinese Coast Guard.
Always do it by air. Kaya lang malilimit. Actually, tinanong ako kahapon nung isang senior officer, bakit hindi niyo padala ng helicopter? May dala kasi tayong malalaking bagay tulad nung mga tangke ng gasol na hindi na magkasya doon sa chopper. So, the most economical and viable option that we have is by boat.
Westcom adds that based on their monitoring, only 2 Chinese Coast Guard vessels remain in Ayungin and there has been a significant decline on the number of Chinese militia boats in the area. Other countries show their support to the Philippines following the Ayungin Shoal incident. The United States, Japan, Australia, Canada, France, Germany, and the European Union say that countries must comply with UNCLOS and uphold the 2016 South China Sea Arbitral Award. Tristan Odaldo, CNN Philippines.
Over the weekend, the team of presidential aspirant Ping Lacson received radio warnings from the Chinese military while on board a flight to Pag-asa Island in Palawan.
Approaching our business. Let's stay away from this area and live immediately. Action is unfriendly and dangerous. This is Chinese TV. You are approaching our military alert zone. Leave immediately in order to avoid misjudgment.
Our correspondent George Cahilas and his crew, who were on a separate flight, also said Chinese authorities radio challenged their flight a few minutes before landing. Their pilots say it was not the first time they experienced it.
You are reporting on accurate. No more than 90 moves. Let the vehicle. Keep them landing. Couldn't feel anything.
Nasanay na siguro. Nine-nervous de pero territory natin to, sir.
A number of Chinese vessels were seen swarming the area. Lacson visited the island to check the situation of locals there. The presidential hopeful earlier said the country should not be a pushover in its own territory and that apart from filing diplomatic protests, the Philippines should ally with powerful nations. Two more Furthermore, groups classified as high risk for COVID-19, senior citizens and persons with underlying illnesses are now eligible to get booster shots against the disease, included are those living with HIV as well as cancer and transplant patients. Our Chrissy Matulak reports.
Leah Junicio is a retired healthcare worker. She is a senior citizen and has diabetes. On Monday, the government started providing booster shots to senior citizens and people with underlying illnesses. Junicio is one of the first people in East Avenue Medical Center to receive an additional dose.
I had my first and second dose in other country, in Saudi Arabia. So I need the booster shot. Kasi parang feeling ko yung vaccine medyo humihina na.
Booster shots are administered 6 months after the completion of doses. Senior citizens and people who have weak immune system can choose if they will be getting the same vaccine or a different brand. Dr. Nina Gloriani of the Vaccine Expert Panel meantime warns that those who will choose a different brand of vaccine are at risk of having more side effects.
Heterologous na boosters, yun ang may data na mas marami ang nagkakaroon ng reaksyon. Yung reactogenicity is higher. Hindi naman talagang nagiging severe, pero mild to moderate pa rin. Pero mas marami ang nakakaramdam ng side effects pag iba ang itinurok sa kanila.
The Health Department issued the guidelines only a day before the rollout. Most of Metro Manila mayors were not able to implement it today. The agency says they already informed regional health offices and LGUs about the protocols over the weekend. Qualified vaccinees may just bring their vaccination card and valid ID. For the immunocompromised, a medical clearance from their physician is also needed. Vaccination sites should have a separate lane for the booster shots.
Kwarto ng mga babakunahan ng booster kesa dun sa babakunahan ng primary series para wala pong magulo o wala pong magkakapalit-palit. Kapag tayo ay nag-umpisa na po ng bakunahan. Kailangan po tayong makapag-delegate din ng special lanes para sa ating mga nakakatanda at para po dun sa mga may comorbidities na hindi pa po sila nababakunahan.
For now, booster shot is not recommended for the general population. The Health Department is still waiting for the final recommendations from the World Health Organization. The MMDA recommends LGUs to avoid allowing walk-ins and to inform those who will be receiving their booster shots beforehand. This is to avoid overcrowding in vaccination sites. Those who want to receive their additional doses in another area may register in its LGU. Chrissy Matulak, CNN Philippines.
Following the rollout of vaccines for some programs in higher education, the University of the East in Manila has reopened its doors to dentistry students. The school recently got the go signal from the Commission on Higher Education to resume limited face-to-face classes for clinical requirements after almost 2 years. For students and teachers, the in-person setup is better, especially for programs that require hands-on practice.
Face-to-face, kahit risky, pero kung ipa-follow yung protocol, yung guidelines, yung infection control, magiging okay naman po.
The manner on how they're moving, how they're treating it would be like they're treating actual patients. So the position and everything, the proper position of a dentist when treating a patient cannot be duplicated online. It's better to do it in face-to-face clinics.
The university says it will soon see clearance to increase the number of students in its classrooms. The Philippines sees yet another drop in daily new COVID-19 cases. The Health Department reporting 984 new cases today, bringing the nationwide tally to over 2.9 million. This is the second time in less than a week that the country recorded less than 1,000 cases. Total recoveries stand at 2.76 million, while over 47,200 people have died of the disease. Yesterday, the country saw more than 2,000 new cases for the first time in 11 days. But Octa research fellow Dr. Guido David says the higher number was only due to backlogs. He adds daily cases may even drop to around 500 by year end, but he did not discount the possibility of another surge. The DOH reminds the public not to let their guard down and still observe minimum public health standards. It also appeals to those who still refuse to be vaccinated to get their COVID-19 shots. Up ahead, oil companies announce a rollback in fuel prices. How cheaper will gasoline or diesel be starting tomorrow? And K-pop sensation BTS is Artist of the Year at the 2021 American Music Awards. Details next on Newsnight.
tayo. Ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa. Inside.
Kabilang ba kayo sa mga Pilipino na nahihirapan sa mga transaksyon dahil wala o kulang ang mga valid IDs?
Huwag nang mag-alala dahil narito na po ang PhilSys, ang identification system ng bawat Pilipino.
Para sa Step 1 registration, pumunta lang sa register.philsys.gov.ph para makapag-register sa PhilSys online. Ito ang PhilSys, ID natin to.
Beer call muna tayo, beer call muna tayo, kahit kailan walang iwanan. Beer call muna tayo, beer call muna tayo.
Mamasko po! This Christmas, we may not be celebrating the way we used to because of the ongoing pandemic. But there is still a lot to be grateful for. And definitely a lot of ways we can share the Christmas spirit with others.
Ngayong Pasko, bukod sa paghahanda natin ng salo-salo sa sarili nating tahanan, samahan niyo po kami ni Isa na mag-sponsor ng iba pang pamilya para sa kanilang Pure Foods Noche Buena. Mula sa halagang 800 pesos, maaari na tayong magbahagi ng Pure Foods Fiesta Ham, Tender Juicy Hotdog, TJ Spaghetti Sauce.
Your new favorite viands are also now made ready to eat by Pure Foods. Crispy fried chicken, caldereta, kare-kare, and many more. Your Noche Buena can be ready in as little as 15 minutes.
Wow!
Ang bilis!
Isang kompleto at masayang pagdiriwang ng Noche Buena ang naghihintay para sa inyo at para sa pamilyang reregaluhan ninyo ng Pure Foods Noche Buena Pack.
Ito ay mahahanap sa San Miguel Foods website. Magtungo sa thehub.sanmiguel.com.ph. Let us continue the spirit of Christmas giving so more of us can celebrate the season.
Sama-sama po tayong magdiwang ng Pasko! Buo ang Pasko sa Paskong Pure Foods!
Welcome back to Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. Just how important is the COVID vaccine? Data from the health department show that 86% of hospitalized coronavirus patients are not fully vaccinated, while more than 90% of those who died were unvaccinated. The DOH also reports an additional 426 Delta variant cases for March to April and September to November. That brings the total number of Delta infections to over 7,000. As more people get their COVID shots, officials hope we will not suffer the same fate as that of Europe, which is facing another wave of infections after relaxing health protocols.
One of the major difference siguro, nung nag-relax sila ng restrictions, pati yung minimum public health standards like wearing of mask and the other restrictions, tinanggal nila. Dito naman sa atin sa Pilipinas, nakikita po natin through the months from the start of the pandemic, nakita natin na yung behavior ng ating mga kababayan ay nag-i-improve na in terms of wearing of mask, frequent hand washing, tsaka yung physical distancing natin. So hopefully that doesn't happen to us.
108 areas are under alert level 2, while 12 cities and provinces are still on alert level 3. Only Catanduanes is still under alert level 4, which is at high risk for COVID-19. An island in the West Philippine Sea has not seen a single COVID case since the pandemic began. That is the Pag-asa Island, the largest in what we call the Kalayaan Island group within Philippine waters. As George Quiles reports, this is home to about 200 Filipinos who know too well the value of the COVID vaccine.
Some 480 kilometers west of mainland Palawan is Pag-asa Island, the stronghold of the Philippines in the disputed Spratlys. Because it's in the middle of the sea, the pandemic is not a problem as the island remains COVID-19 free. The island has around 200 residents, but it cannot afford to have even a single COVID-19 case because they only have a nurse and a health clinic with basic equipment.
So yun yung sinabi namin sa mga tao na hirap dito kung magkasakit kayo. Kaya as much as possible, kung ano yung mga preventive measures na pwede natin magawa, kahit hindi sa COVID-19, ginagawa namin yan dito.
Residents of Pag-asa only see doctors whenever there are medical missions. That's like once a year before the pandemic, but this year, none. Their medicines and other medical supplies are already depleting. Despite recording zero COVID-19 case, Pag-asa Island registered a 92% vaccination rate among its eligible population. Vaccines reached the island last June.
Bilang health officer, ang ginawa namin, information dissemination. Kasi ang mahalaga talaga na naiintindihan ng mga tao kung gaano ka-importante ang pagpapabakuna.
Some of those who have yet to get vaccinated are new residents. Some were deferred as they need medical clearance from doctors. And just like anywhere else, some are just afraid of the vaccines.
Hindi pa po kami nagpa-schedule, medyo pa po kami magpabakuna. Pero kung in case naman po na-require kami, magpapabakuna naman po kami.
Kasi may internet na din kasi dito. Kaya nababasa na din nila yung mga effects ng iba. Tapos may mga nababasa din sila mga fake news.
Modular or home-based learning is also not a thing in Pag-asa. Teacher Rialyn Limbo says they never stop their face-to-face classes.
Ninodule ko umpisa nag-print ako. Tapos namigay ako sa parents. Tapos na-notice ko parang hirap sila. Kasi yung mga parents dito hindi naman lahat nakagraduate. May elementary, may high school. So binabalik nila sa akin ang module, matagal.
There are only 34 students from kindergarten to grade 6 in the island, with only 2 teachers and 2 teacher aides educating them. From Pag-asa Island in the West Philippine Sea, George Cahiles, CNN Philippines.
Officials in Mimaropa said they're willing to send help to residents of Pag-asa Island and will cooperate with the town officials. Heads up, motorists' pump prices are set to go down again this week. Beginning tomorrow, Petron, Caltex, Clean Fuel, Flying V, Petrogas, Phoenix Petroleum, PTT Philippines, Sea Oil, and Uni Oil will slash gasoline prices by 85 centavos per liter. The same fuel companies will impose a hefty price cut on diesel at 1 peso and 20 centavos per liter. Petron, Caltex, Flying V, and Sea Oil will have an even bigger rollback on kerosene prices at 1 peso and 30 centavos per liter. Other oil companies have yet to announce their price adjustments. The number coding scheme soon to make a comeback in Metro Manila nearly 2 years into the pandemic. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority says it may be implemented before the end of November or the first week of December, pending approval from Metro Manila mayors. Speaking to CNN Philippines, MMDA Director Noemi Resho explains traffic volume in NCR is slowly increasing and may exceed pre-pandemic levels. The agency expects more or less 405,000 vehicles on major roads as the holiday rush draws near. It says it wants to bring back the number coding scheme in a bid to control traffic amid eased restrictions.
Actually, there were 3 options evaluated by MMDA. Number 1 is to be implemented during peak hours only. The peak hour volume is from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Second option is peak hour in the morning, which is 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and peak hour in the afternoon, that is 5 to 8 p.m. And the third option is the whole day number coding, usual from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
MMDA Chairman Benher Apolo says Metro Manila mayors are set to discuss the proposal this week. Petitioners asking the Commission on Elections to reject presidential aspirant Bongbong Marcos's response to their petition to cancel his candidacy. Lawyer Theodore Te has filed a motion for reconsideration seeking a reversal of the poll body's earlier decision to give Marcos 5 more days to respond to the plea. Marcos's team filed a response Friday where they claimed the presidential aspirant has all the qualifications to vie for the top post. Now that's despite having been convicted for not filing his income tax tax returns for 4 years. The original deadline was November 16, but the extension gave Marcos until today to comply. Attorney Tess says a request for more time was not justified since the Marcos camp merely cited that their new lawyer, Estelito Mendoza, has been grappling with other cases and needed time to review and prepare their answer. A group of human rights defenders also asking the COMELEC to conduct an internal probe into how Marcos' spokesman, Vic Rodriguez, knew ahead of time that the 2nd Division will grant the request. Rodriguez told CNN Philippines last Thursday that their plea was already granted. COMELEC's decision, however, only came out afternoon the next day. Tez Group fears the Marcos camp has, quote, undue insider knowledge about COMELEC's actions, unquote, which they say casts doubts on the credibility of the poll body and the elections. A decision on the case is expected by December. The results for illegal drug consumption came out negative for both Senator Ping Lacson and Senate President Tito Soto. The Soto-Lacson tandem made the move after President Duterte claimed that a presidential hopeful uses cocaine. Vice presidential aspirant Soto mentioned that as principal author of the Dangerous Drugs Act, he pushed for drug testing of all political candidates, but the Supreme Court declared the provision unconstitutional. Presidential hopeful Lacson added that now it is up to other aspirants to follow suit with a drug screening.
Nasa sa kanila na yun, hindi naman na kami pwede mag-impose sa kanila. Sabi nga ni Senate President, na-declare ng unconstitutional. So voluntary lang talaga.
At para maipakita natin sa mga kababayan natin na malinis ang ating hangarin.
National Police Chief Leonardo Carlos said they are verifying information as far back as 5 years ago to investigate allegations about the presidential aspirant's cocaine use. Still on Newsnight, singer Adele gets Spotify to remove its default shuffle feature, and K-pop sensation BTS is Artist of the Year at the 2021 American Music Awards. You're watching CNN Philippines.
Sa'yo, ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na, masakit ang katawan mo ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa.
Patuloy na humaharap sa hamon ng pagbabago.
Bilang isang ina, handa akong gawin ang lahat para sa kaligtasan ng aking mga anak.
Pandemya man, tuloy pa rin ang serbisyo para malinis ang kapaligiran.
Serbisyong publiko para sa kaligtasan ng lahat.
Sa panahon ng krisis, ikaw, ako, magtulungan tayo. Saludo ako sa Pilipino.
Sino nga ba ang masarap kainuman? Di yung magaang kasama. San Mig Light was introduced in 1999 at just 100 calories. True to its name, this beer was light and less filling, making it magaang sa tiyan para sa mahaba-habang inuman.
So the main difference of San Mig Light with the other beers is its calorie content. San Mig Light has lower calories because it has reduced amount of these other components, the residual carbohydrates and proteins.
This pioneering light beer brand built strong affinity among the younger crowd because of how it uses the brand's platform to spark conversations on important social topics during these challenging times. Whether it's the pandemic or another full day at work stressing you out, grab a San Mig Light to unwind and reset over an inuman with friends.
Boracay has put the country on the map for domestic and international tourism. It is only fitting that the gateway to this paradise island is modern and state-of-the-art. SMC Infrastructure has taken the lead in overseeing the improvements of the Boracay Airport. Throughout the years, it carried several name changes, from Caticlan Airport to Godofredo P. Ramos Airport, but it lagged behind in upgrades until SMC Infrastructure stepped in. Now, the current and long-term developments include the construction of an international airport passenger terminal. SMC infrastructure also extended the existing runway to better serve bigger aircrafts. From 950 meters, it now stretches up to 2,100 meters long, keeping passengers happy and satisfied as they escape into the relaxing beaches and waters of Boracay.
Watching Newsnight, I'm Pia Ontiveros. Grammy-winning artist Adele is making sure that fans get to listen to her new album 30 the way she intended them to. Citing this as the only request she's had in the ever-changing industry, the singer asked Spotify to let all Spotify users play album songs in order. And what Adele wants, she gets. The shuffle button is now just an option instead of the default in listening to albums. The chart-topping vocalist just starred in a highly anticipated television special and audience with Adele, where she sang hits like Rolling in the Deep and new tracks from 30. Well, BTS made history at the American Music Awards today as the first Asian act to win Artist of the Year. CNN's Britt Conway gives us a look at all of the big winners and performances in today's Hollywood Minute.
BTS owned the night at the AMAs. The K-pop group performed with Coldplay early in the show and then won 3 awards, including Artist of the Year.
Wow. We believe that this awards opens the beginning of our new chapter.
And the night turned out pretty sweet for the artist behind the hit album Sour, Olivia Rodrigo. After a moving rendition of her song Traitor, the pop star took home new Artist of the Year.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm a little nervous, I'm shaking.
Rapper Cardi B hosted the American Music Awards for the first time ever and managed to snag Best Hip Hop Song for her hit Up along the way.
Anyways, I gotta go home.
Representing Boston. There was a blast from the past when the show held the Battle of Boston, featuring boy bands from Beantown, New Kids on the Block, and New Edition. The evening wrapped with another performance from the big winners, BTS. I'm Britt Conway reporting.
Like BTS, fellow Artist of the Year nominee Taylor Swift also won in major categories at the AMAs. Swift took 2 trophies, including Favorite Pop Album for Evermore. With these wins, she extends her reign as the AMA's most awarded artist, even for 4 years now. Despite her absence from the show, another big winner is Megan Thee Stallion. The 26-year-old snagged top prizes in her genre, including Favorite Female Hip Hop Artist. She tied with BTS and fellow rapper Doja Cat for biggest winners of the night, grabbing 3 awards each. It is 33 days before Christmas, and that is it for tonight. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
Sa'yo, ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na, masakit ang katawan mo ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya sa bawat